This is MikeBot. Thank you all that have watched all my previous HueForge videos, Bambu Studio videos. I appreciate all the time spent watching my videos, the likes, the comments. And my way of saying thank you is I'm going to give you all the video you've all been asking for. So today I'm going to be doing a full in-depth review video, in-depth tutorial walkthrough on HueForge, Bambu Studio, and basically my settings and configuration for everything, right down to the finished 3D printed product. So I'm going to start out first and foremost with HueForge. That seems to be the hottest topic today, and great place to start. So once again, I haven't done a video where I walk through every single little setting, so that's what this video is going to be. So starting with HueForge, basically they're a company that started out, I assume, making lithophane software, which turned into filament painting. They're still new, they're still in their infancy. As a matter of fact, the software is not even version 1, so we're all using beta software. The price is dirt cheap right now until they release the first official version. So I recommend you take advantage of their pricing. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't have any links from them or anything. I just bought this out of pocket. I bought the 1-year professional license for $80 US. So if you don't want to do commercial licensing, which includes selling the STL files and selling the digital and physical prints and all that, then go with their basic personal. Their basic personal is like $12 US, which is peanuts, like $16 Canadian. So now that that's out of the way, once you have your software, go ahead, open it up, run it as administrator. That's what I always do. That way I don't have any limitations or issues. Once it's open, you're going to see this very overwhelming / basic setup. It's still missing a ton of features, and I know they're working on a few new things which should be released pretty soon. So from here, we have our file menu. In the file menu, you can go to open file. You can load a project, image, STL, or everything. Now, whatever you click on is what you're going to be limited to seeing. So for example, I'm going to click project. And as you can see, when I click project, I can see all my projects, HFP files. If I go into my STL folder, nothing. Pics, nothing. 3MFs, nothing. So it's only for opening HFP files. If you go to open, come on mouse. If you go file, open, image, now I can see all my images. No STLs again, no 3MF, just pics. I don't even see the projects. But if you want to see everything, then that's where you go file, open, all, and then you have access to all your files. That's how that works. Reload. Basically, if you mess up your image, you can reload it. So let's open this image, for example. Let's say I messed up some settings here. I can go file, reload, image. As you see, it didn't do much. That's because the file or software is still in its infancy. I'm sure they're going to fix that down the road. So once your file is open, you now have save project as, export STL, close and quit. Close actually closes the image, not the program. So it's a good way to load a new file and kind of go on. So I'll just load this image up for now. So when you save project, you're saving the HFP file, not STL format or any other format. If you want to export your STL, you have to click export STL, but it won't let you do it without this prompt. So you can save your project or export without saving. If you don't save it, you're going to lose your work, especially if you close the program off complete. So now we go to the options. In here, you can save defaults, restore defaults. When I restored defaults, it kind of messed everything up, as you can see. You got a few checkboxes here, so move images to project directory, or basically when you're saving, you can save the images as well into the project directory, which is right here. So it allows you to save the photos here. So when I clicked file, open all, that's why we had some images here, because I have that box checked. So next you have STL name options. I don't know what that one does yet, but it's there. You have the front and back image, what that means. So If you flip the image backwards, you get some weird little view. And that's what that allows. To be honest, I don't think that function works fully. Then you have your model size, brightness compensation, and luminance method, which is all stuff up here and down here basically. I'll go over that in a bit. Next we have preferences. That's basically just to change the program. So there's light mode, there's dark mode. Some people like to work in dark mode, some people like to work in light mode. It's a personal preference. And under help, nothing works yet. Even this doesn't let you update the file. So once again, program's in its infancy. Now I expect this video to be fairly large by the time I'm done with it. So by the time I'm done with it, it's going to be probably over 4 or 5 days of recording. And it's either going to be one big 1 hour long video or it's going to be 2 or 3 little videos. I'm not sure which method I'm going to proceed with yet. So just keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just go ahead and close this off. And then we'll go over all these settings. And then I'll go over the image preparation. So first things first, you can actually unhinge all this stuff. Or you can lock them in like so. Which allows you to move them around, put them on another screen, whatever you want to do. Same goes with down here. You can pop out, pop it back in, kind of thing. So it'll be easier to kind of explain this by me popping out all the stuff just to make the screen less cluttered. So I'm going to move the filament library to the left. You'll see it again shortly, don't worry. So up here you have light settings. For the most part, this is for lithophanes. So if you have a lithophane and you know what kind of light you're using, this is where you can kind of choose the type of light you have for once the print is done. If you're not doing lithophanes, ignore that. Same thing goes with the light intensity. Wireframe basically shows you the full wireframe of the image. We'll go over that once I load an image up. Then you have normal or slicer. And that's just another setting which doesn't really fully work yet. But what's important is this stuff here. So you have your step height, base layer. Now as per HueForge, keep the layer height and base layer default. In a future update, these might make a difference in some way. And I'll show you what they all do once an image is loaded here. So over here, you got your little drop down. You can go from lithophane to filament painting. I assume most of you are here because you want to do filament painting. Everyone's done lithophanes for years. There's tons of software out there. Don't buy this software for lithophanes. Buy it for filament painting. And then if you mess up your settings, click reset view and everything just gets reset. So to reset everything, I just hit file close. So next we're going to talk about the colors. So let me bring that over. So HueForge gave you some presets, which were these basically. And then anything else you want to do, you need to add yourself. So if you're using PLA, work under that. If you're using PLA Plus or PETG, you have the different tabs for it. I stick with PLA Plus. The difference is minor, but I usually only buy PLA Plus. Considering the cost, it's almost the same as PLA. I don't see a reason to go with PLA unless you need a very unique specific color that doesn't exist in PLA Plus yet. Down the road, obviously that's going to exist because the 3D printing world is growing significantly and at a rapid rate, especially with the release of Bambu. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not sponsored by Bambu or anyone, but Anchor Make is a disaster. They were supposed to change the industry, but they poorly timed their release and Bambu kind of destroyed them and took over. After Bambu came out with their crazy printers, you had Prusa getting all upset and butthurt and coming out with a really quick release called the MK4, which is like an MK3 but faster, and then Anchor Make got butthurt and they tried to boost their speeds to 500 MMS, and various other people copied them. Creality is infamous for copying. They're like the copycat masters of the world for 3D printing. They can give you cheap printers, but you are getting a cheap printer. That's where it ends. So moving forward, over here, as you can see, the defaults will probably be this on your screen. And they've already kind of given you the transmission distance for everything. And this is where it gets tricky because the transmission distance is hard to figure out unless you're basically doing the tests yourself or somebody's giving you the number. So that was already 10 minutes. This is going to be a really large video, and editing will be a nightmare for me. I had to stop there, edit, make sure everything was good. I will be taking notes throughout this recording, so I can basically try to make the editing as fast as possible so I can get this video out to everyone. As I was editing the first 10 minutes, I realized I missed something very important. So we're going to backtrack a couple steps here, and I'll show you what I missed. So back under File, there is something hidden that not many people know about. So if you go into Project, and then you go back into the main folder of HueForge, they actually have something really cool here called Tools. So the tools are actually under STL, not Project, but you have a oscilloscope, a test square, and transmission discs. So if you open up the transmission discs, these here are what allow you to basically set your transmission distance on in the slider bars here. I'll go over these slider bars again later on in the video, but basically as I was doing the filament library clip and I was talking about transmission distance, I remembered this function. So with these discs, it allows you to basically fine-tune all your colors, set the overlap properly, and then print it and test it, and if it works, record down that transmission distance you used. If it doesn't, adjust the transmission distance accordingly, reprint. It's a long process, trial and error, but until there's an update released with all the filament transmission distances and all that stuff, that's the way to do it. So under the Tools folder as well, there's a couple other really neat things here. So let me just go back to HueForge, Tools. There's also Oscilloscope. And this basically allows you to play around with transmission distances again, but also print a really little cool tool. I haven't actually tried this specific one, so I can't really tell you what it's for, but it's in the Tools folder, so maybe they'll explain it down the road in the future. And then lastly, we have the step square test. So this one here is actually the one that I use for transmission distances. So this is the square you want to use to determine your own transmission distance. So as you're playing with it, you can kind of play with your transmission distances, see how it starts to change. But then you have to actually export it and print it and test and come back and play around with it. And that's where it can be lengthy. But if you want accurate transmission distances, that's the way to do it with this square here. Now, not everyone has that time. So if you're like me, take a good guesstimate and work with it. It's worked for me so far. But if you do have the time and patience, use this transmission square, or whatever they call it, step square, to play around with the transmission distance. So I'm going to close this and go back to filaments again. So now, the important part, filament library. So in order to add your own colors and not use this, you'll have to go to brand. You'll have to go to this drop down and select your brand, color, or whatever you want to do, and then click new filament. In my previous video, I showed everyone this really cool tool I found called the color analyzer, which is this thing. So this allows you to get like very accurate colors in your photo. So let's say I want this specific color. There's the hex code for it. You can insert it here. But if you don't have the filament for it, it doesn't work. But if you do have the filament, then great, this works wonders. I know they're going to be incorporating this tool into HueForge very soon. I spoke to the designer, and that's what he said to me at least. So if you don't want to play around with that, just pick a basic color you have. So let's say you have pink. Click OK. Give it a name. So the pink I have, I know, is with Polymaker. And then I'm going to call it pink. And it's PLA, actually, not PLA plus. And then I'm going to click Add. And now under my PLA tab, I got Polymaker Pink. And they do have an Excel sheet with the transmission distances somewhere. I'm going to try to pull it up here. So here's the list you get in the email once they basically, you purchase the software, they'll send you this. So the transmission distance range is 3 to 3.5. So using that list, I know that the pink is going to be 3 or 3.5. So I can start with 3. And that's how you add a new filament. So if you have that list, makes it very easy. I know they're working on a really extensive list, which will be really nice. As far as that goes, that's how you add a new filament. Pretty simple. Make sure you hit save, and then it should save it automatically. Now this stuff here, when you click it, it actually changes your sliders here with presets, which is really neat. And then you can add your own presets that you like. So I'm going to keep it as grayscale, and then I'm going to add update, and that saves it there. So that's pretty much it for the filament library. There's not much to it yet. Once they release updates, I promise you I'll make you more videos if you want to see them. So make sure you leave your comments below, and make sure you subscribe and hit the notifications button. So once that's all done here, I also like to be extra safe, and I like to go here and save everything. So I like to save the default. So now this is my new default now. It's all saved. There's a file in the back end that writes everything, and you're good to go. So next we're going to talk about color sliders. This is where all the magic happens, right here. Every time you slide up here, that's a layer. So you can use your scroll wheel on your mouse to go up or down, or use your arrow keys to go up and down. And you're going to play around with all these sliders, which are going to make a really beautiful filament painting for you. Now, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it looks like there's 16 colors here. So if you have 4 AMS units on a Bambu, you can do all 16 colors. Remesh, I haven't played around with it. I couldn't tell you what it does. But describe is basically going to tell you how you're going to do your swap on the filament painting itself. So you can do manual swaps, or if you have an AMS, these are the layers you want to change. So I have a video showing everyone how to do it by slicing and changing filament. There's also another method where you can just change filaments based on the millimeters here, and I'll go through that once I do the Bambu Studio walkthrough. It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be hard to edit this video, so there's gonna be a lot of mistakes. I'm gonna try to get the big ones out by editing them, and the ones I miss, I apologize. This is going to be a large video. There's not much else I could do. I wanted to do this live, but I don't have the time or the space at the moment to do it live. So over to model geometry. This is where you can play with the detail of your photo, and this is the depth of your photo, so 0.36 millimeters up to 3.74, but you can change them to any thickness or thin depth that you like. The brightness compensation is probably the second most important thing you're going to use when you're doing filament painting. So you can choose between bright, dim, or a mix between both. I'll show you once we do another photo together on this video. Luminance method, unless you're doing lithophanes, you don't need to touch that. Image formatter, you can do a color or black and white image. Smoothing makes it look a little smoother. Brightness adjustment, adjust the brightness on the image. You can also add borders, again that's for lithophanes. And then the height and the width is how big you want your print to be. So that's basically it. That's all there is to it right now. And the rest of it is trial and error with the sliders to get the perfect mixture along with the brightness compensation. So that in a 20-minute video is how you use HueForge in its current state today, July 17th, 2023, version 0.5.1. There could be a new version tomorrow, and everything I just said could be a waste of time, or it's just going to add to what I said. But I will do updates periodically to make this all perfect for everyone. So next, I'm going to load an image on here. I'm going to show everyone how to do the image, add color to it, and then we're ready to move off to Bambu Studio and do a tutorial on that. So I'm going to take a break here, edit this next 10-minute portion I just did, and then I will resume with the file next. I've gone ahead and I've colored this hedge already just to save time. So the process is pretty straightforward. It's just like you've seen in all my other videos. I didn't want to add another like 20 minutes to this video doing the coloring. So I went ahead and colored it, and I'll just show you what I did. So basically I went with black for the base. So I grabbed my black from here, and then I went for green, yellow and white, and I went with yellow to make it pop and white to make it stand out. It's kind of a really cool effect actually with the finished product. I've already printed this and I'm going to post the photo right at the end of this segment and you'll see what I'm talking about. So basically, first 5 layers were black, then I went from layer 5 to 20 in green, then from 20 to 25 in yellow, and then the remainder was white. And I'll show you kind of just what that looks like. So see if you slide them, and it just goes around basically playing with the colors. A lot of trial and error with this software, but that's the gist of the coloring, and I went with standard for brightness. And that's basically it. And then you hit describe, and then from here, this will give you the swap instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post the photo now, and then right after this photo, I'm going to go into Bambu Studio and we're going to do a full walkthrough, and I'll show you exactly what I did with these swap instructions and how I set it all up. So as you can see with the photos, they look sharp, crisp, and beautiful. You can see where the yellow right at the bottom right basically just kind of makes the image pop, and the white makes everything stand out. It's actually really cool and almost looks like a special effect. We have come to the final part of this video, the Bambu Studio walkthrough. There is 1,000 different things I can go through with Bambu Studio, but I'm going to keep this on a high level-ish. And it's mostly going to be just to explain the settings with Bambu Studio at a high level, along with how to do the HueForge slicing and printing setup. So first things first, you open up Bambu Studio, make sure you sign in, you create an account, add your printer, all the basics. Once that's all done, you'll see a screen like this. So if you go to your devices, you can view your different printers. So I have 3 printers. I got my X1C, which is this guy. Not printing anything right now, so we'll just load a video of what the inside chamber looks like at the moment. I have 2 AMS units, which you can see over to the right here. They're loaded with some colors already. The external spools are empty. You can change all the colors and edit here, or you can do it through the Bambu Handy app, or you can do it directly on the X1C. You got your humidity sensor right here. Right now I'm green, so it's good. But if I go to MicBot 3, which is the one with it's a P1P with AMS. It's orange. It's not good right now. I'm currently printing a self-watering planter using Hedge, and I only have 1 AMS unit on this P1P, and my other P1P doesn't have any AMS on it, so I'm using the external spool. And if we just load the video for the other P1P here, you'll see what it's printing. So I'm printing Crocs exhaust right now. So just go back to my X1C because it's not printing and I can't mess anything up in that process. So over here you can turn your lamp on and off. By the way, everything you're doing here you can do on the Bambu Handy app or directly on the printer, with the exception of the P1Ps, which I'll go over shortly. You have your fan here. Sorry, this is your speed. So you got your standard, sport, ludicrous, silent. 99% of the time I print in standard. I haven't had to use ludicrous or sport mode. You have your parts cooling fan, your auxiliary fan, your chamber fan. Make sure to replace the chamber fan filter from time to time, every 3 months, or if you use it frequently, probably every month. They're about $7 on Amazon. It's not too bad. You can raise and lower your extruder, your bed. You can move around the here, let's just home it. You can move around your X and Y axis. You can also home your printer. You got print options here. I have everything enabled. So AI detection, I set it to high. Detect the build plate position, first layer inspection, auto recovery from step loss. This is used for power outages basically. Then you have your calibration button right here. And basically with the X1C, you got micro LiDAR, bed leveling, and the resonance frequency. So all that's already done for me. I don't really need to tune anything or play with it. So over at the top here, tells you if you have a micro SD card installed. You can see your time-lapse footage. With this not working. But basically time-lapse footage, video, you can go live. And then you can play with the camera settings. If I want to go live, basically click that, and then you go to the page and it tells you how to set up live video footage streaming. So I assume with live footage streaming, this is something you can probably stream on YouTube. I haven't played around with it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Over at the media section, this is where you can see all your time lapses on the X1C and download them if needed. As you can see, I have quite a bit. I do have a fairly large card on the X1C. I believe it's the 512 gigabyte, and it's a high-end micro SD. You can update your firmware all from here, and then you got your health monitoring system. Go over to the P1Ps. You can do your updates as well, health monitoring. You can't view or download your time lapses on the P1P. You have to actually take the micro SD card out and do it, which sucks. So I have 256 gigabyte micro SD on both P1Ps, and then in the status you can see same idea, everything's the same. You got your lamp. Mine are upgraded with auxiliary fans. I haven't put the chamber fan upgrade in yet. It's something I am planning to do down the road. And that's basically a very quick high level overview of the device tab in Bambu Studio. Again, auxiliary fans installed, but printing patchy, so you don't want that turned on. Under the preview tab, once you slice a file, you get to preview everything layer by layer. And then in the prepare tab, this is where you have basically everything. This is where the magic happens. So over here, you can select your printer. So you can select X1C or P1P or any of the pre-built plates, and you can add and remove printers here like so. I don't have an X1, so I don't have that enabled. Looks like they added something for the P1S. They also have Anycubic, the Ender 3, and a couple of the Vorons. From time to time, they do update this, so check back regularly. So you can also customize your settings for the printer over by clicking, I'll do it again here, by clicking this edit preset button right there. You can edit your machine code. I don't recommend you do it unless you know what you're doing. Your motion, ability, the extruder, all that stuff up here. I have a default preset that I made for the X1 Carbon, but just go with the presets. Don't mess around with it if you don't know what you're doing. If you want to see a full video on how to do each of these settings, I can do that. They will be long videos though, so I'll probably if you ask in the comment section, I'll do one for the printer or filament. Just let me know which section you want to see, because they're probably going to be 10-15 minute long videos per section if I do it fully from A to Z. So over here you have your filament. If you have an AMS unit, you can automatically sync everything by clicking resync. Make sure you have the right printer selected. So I'm going to go to my X1C, select it, just make sure that's X1C, yep. And then over here I can resync, and then it loads up all the colors I've loaded up. So you can do this manually by loading the colors on the X1C itself. You could do it through the app, or once again through the devices. And you just load your filament, then you go edit, select your type of PLA or PETG or whatever material, select your color and the nozzle temperatures. You can also play with your flushing volumes up here. So when you're doing multicolor prints, you can adjust how much is flushed. Now, the only exception I would say would be black and gray. Make sure those numbers are high. But for the most part, you can go in and edit each of these down to 175. 175 I've noticed is the magic number where it's not going to ruin the colors and still look nice. But these days, if I want to sell prints, I don't want to mess around with these numbers. I just go and I put it either to 0.5 for the multiplier, hit auto calc, or 0.75. You can see how all the numbers change here. So because I'm selling prints from time to time, I do want to have a higher multiplier because I want to make sure everything looks perfect and clean, especially customers paying money for my prints. You can edit each individual filament by clicking the edit preset button right next to it. So you can go in, choose the color, PLA, diameter, flow rate, tons and tons of settings. If you've been doing 3D printing for years, you'll know what all this stuff means. If you haven't, don't touch it. Do not touch it. But basically everything can be set up here. Once again, if you want to see a video just on the filament, leave a comment below. So over here, if you're a new user or someone that doesn't want to tinker and mess around, don't click advanced. Leave everything to the basics and play with your settings here. They also have a ton of presets here. And once again, I can do a video for you just on this section. It'll be a 20-minute video. So it's too much to explain in this one video that's specifically for HueForge. So in that case, I am just going to go to HueForge. This is the setting that I set for my HueForge settings. So copy this. To make this video easier for everyone, I am just going to show you the basic, not advanced version of the preset. So under quality, 0.08. As I mentioned earlier in the video on the HueForge portion, 0.08 is what they work with. So set that to 0.08 under layer height. Keep your first layer to 0.2. And then seam, this is your preference. I like my seams aligned, but if you don't want to see a line down the middle, then go probably random would be your best bet. The dots will be all over the place, but it's not going to have one seam going down. So this is a personal preference. So under advanced, not this advanced up here, but this one, make sure allow one wall on top surface to be checked. For strength, 2 or 3 wall loops, you don't need more. You can probably even get away with 1, but the print will be flimsy. Top shells, leave them all to the defaults and make sure the infill is set to 100%, and whatever infill pattern you use or want to use, I go with rectilinear. For supports, 99.999% of the time you don't need supports for a HueForge print, so leave that unchecked. And then under other, enable your prime tower. It's painful to see all that filament wasted, but it's going to give you a nice print. And I think the defaults are something like 35 by 40. Bring it down to 20 or even 15. You get a tiny little prime tower. It'll still do its job. As far as flush options go, I only do flush into object supports. I don't flush into infill because it's messed up a few of my prints by doing that. Under special modes, leave them to the defaults down here. And that's basically it. If you want your time-lapse to be nice, click smooth. It's going to increase your print time, but unless you're a YouTube creator or someone that likes to show off your prints, traditional, more than enough. Otherwise, go smooth if you're someone that does YouTube, TikToks, and what's those other platforms? Did I say TokTik? Anyway, whatever they're all called. I only use YouTube these days. So that's basically it for my HueForge profile. And now I'm going to just load one quick print here and just go through the slicing really quick. That'll be it for this video, and I'll wrap it all up. So as you saw earlier in the HueForge portion, under my projects I actually have a 3MF section, and that's where I save all my HueForge sliced files. So for the sake of this video, I showed the Hedge, so I'm going to do the Hedge. So this one's already been sliced with all the appropriate colors, I believe, but I will redo it for you guys right now. So we'll go over quality again, 0.08, strength 300%, supports off, and then we're going to change the prime tower to 15 by 15. Keep your eyes up here, you'll see the difference. So see, the prime tower shrinks. Move that out of your way, don't leave it in the way of the print. So start by slicing your file. Okay, so as I mentioned, this file was already sliced, so basically I'll just show you what I did. So I sliced it once. Move the prime tower out of the way. Make sure the object is laid flat. Auto rotate it if you need to. Slice again. Forgot to mention that part in the beginning. As you slice, it'll go faster and faster and faster once it's loaded into the memory of your PC or your Macintosh. Okay, so the file has been sliced. Now, in your case, you're just going to see an all black or whatever screen here. Make sure you whatever color under describe was first is the color you choose. So to do that, you right click the print, click change filament, and select whatever your first base color was. So as I was mentioning, your layer 0 to 5 in my case was black for this one, so I just changed this to be black by default. Make sure you slice that after you change it as well. Another thing I forgot to mention. So once that's done, this will all be black here. So what you want to do, it's said in HueForge, black until layer 5. So you go up to layer 5 here, then you right click, change filament, change it to green, reslice. Wait for it to finish, then do your next step. So then it said it's green up to layer 20. So then you go up to layer 20, right click, change filament, click yellow, reslice, proceed, and then continue doing that all the way to the end till you're done. So this is the slider bar I was talking about earlier, where you can see your layer by layer. You can even click your travel, see where the head's going to be traveling during the print. You can see where it's going to be doing its retracts, unretract, all that stuff. You don't really need to play with those. It'll also tell you how much filament you're wasting, so the flushed right here. So remember we were talking about flushing volumes? This is where it'll show you how much you're actually flushing and wasting. So because this is going layer by layer, it's minimal. It's just flushing out the last color, and it's not too bad. If you're doing another print that's highly detailed with colors all over the place, this number will 90% of the time be higher than your model number. So make sure you print multiple copies of the same item, or you're gonna end up wasting a lot of filament. So that's basically it for the slicing portion. Now there is another way to do all the colors without doing it with this method that I've shown you, and it's basically under the Advanced tab. I haven't played around with this setting too much. I'm sure there's a video online somewhere about it, but basically you want to go into your objects. Actually, I don't even think you need the Advanced tab here. So go into your objects, and then you click on the model name, and then you can basically change where the filament changes color. So layer height, give me a second here to look through this. Okay, no, you do need Advanced. So basically from here you'll be able to modify your print and layer. So mine right here says filament changes 5 because there's 5 filament changes. So I think if you were to do this from scratch, let me try to clear everything here. How can I reload this model? You know what? Let me just load something completely different here. So I'm just loaded a random new one here. So you right click and select height range modifier. So from there, you can select the colors for the range. So let's say HueForge said 0 to 0.48 is going to be orange. So you would do that. And then what you want to do after that is you want to right click and add a new layer. And then you would do that for all 5 prints. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in 1 second. So we go here, we right click, we select height range modifier. And we're going to change that one to gray for a second. And then so you click the layers here, you click the plus sign. So we have 5 colors, right? So there's your 5 colors, and this is a faster way of doing it, by the way. So let's go into HueForge for 1 second. Let's load the Hedge. We're gonna go to describe, and we're gonna move this over to the side. So go here. Forge, where did HueForge go? Okay, so black until 0.48. So that's what we did here. And what you want to do is you want to right click that or double click it, black. Next, it says green until layer 20 or 1.68. So from here, you want to take that and we're going to go 1.68, enter. And we're going to change that to, come on you, green. And then it says at 2.08 it's going to be 0.68. So then at 2.08, so we're going to put 2.08 here. And that's going to be yellow. And then after that, it's going to be white for the rest. So then here, 0 to 0.48. Let me just double check that. So 0.48, black until 0.48, and then from 0.48 to 168, it's going to be green, and then from it's going to be green. So then here we're going to go from 1.68 to at 2.08. So here it's going to be 2.08. It's going to be yellow. And then for the final part of it, it's going to be white for the rest. So let's change that. I don't have white, so we'll use, I don't know, blue, for example. So then from 2.08 to 4.48, it'll be blue. So the only problem with this method is I don't know when it's going to change to white. So that method I'm not 100% sure about, but that's the other way of doing it really quickly. Now you could essentially just do, let me go here for a sec. Let's get rid of this, we'll get rid of this. You could essentially just leave 3, slice it, and then manually change it with the slider that I showed you before to white. And that would be a lot faster way of doing it. To me, it makes no difference. I like doing it the slider way. It's more accurate, and I know how to do it. This way is faster technically, but you need to do calculations. So that's basically the gist of it. That's the quick, easy version of HueForge on Bambu Studio. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's greatly appreciated. And most importantly, interact with me. Comment. I'll interact right back. You ask me for a video, I make you a video. It's what I like doing. I love this hobby, and I hope you guys love my videos and keep returning to watch more. That's it for today. Thanks again. MikeBot out.